I am a defense attorney working in the Office of the Public Defender, and the following narrative is based on true events. The names and dates have been changed to protect the innocent and to obscure the identity of the alleged guilty parties. Any persons or incidents depicted in this video or for dramatization purposes only. I represent Michael Joseph Frost. Macomb Police Report. Date of report, August 15, 2015. Case number, 154-300-0120. Officer, D. Waters number 1132. Incident number, 12000015430. Incident offense, possession of controlled substance. Penalty group 1, less than 1 gram, in possession of drug paraphernalia. Incident date time, September 15, 2015 at about 0145 hours. Synopsis: 2 subjects were arrested for possession of heroin and charged with possession of drug paraphernalia. According to Officer Waters,
on September 12, 2015, at approximately 0145 hours, I, Officer Waters, was dispatched to the Axios gas station, 2345 Main, Macomb County, Texas, in connection to a probable drug offense. Dispatch reported that the shop clerk, afterwards identified as Michael Baxter, W/MDOB, July 15, 1961, spotted 2 individuals inside the gas station bathroom, later identified as Ernie Lewis Scott, W/MDOB, July 30, 1993, and Michael Joseph Frost, W/MDOB, May 20, 1991. The cashier reported to dispatch that he found needles on the ground when he entered the restroom. The employee then stated that the subjects got into a green Nissan 4-door sedan having the license plate SS43201TXLP. When I arrived in the area, I saw the suspicious car exit the Axios gas station and drive south in the 2300 block of Main. I noticed the vehicle on the outside of the southbound lane. The vehicle then abruptly changed lanes without indicating for at least 100 feet, Transportation Code 545.104. The vehicle abruptly transitioned from the outer lane to the left turn lane and turned into West Courtson, located at 2305 Main, Macomb County, Texas. I initiated a traffic stop after noticing the traffic offense. The car came to a halt in front of the West Courtson's drive-up entryway. Officer Watts arrived on the scene to assist. I made contact with the motorist, Scott, and informed him that he was being stopped because he failed to signal at least 100 feet before changing lanes and also quickly transitioned from the outer lane to the left turn lane. I demanded Scott's driver's license as well as evidence of insurance. Scott stated that he lacked a driver's license. I noticed Scott was apprehensive while speaking with him. Scott's eyes were wide and he was sweating profusely. Scott also had multiple lesions on his face, which I noticed. In my law enforcement expertise, I've discovered that these could be symptoms of heroin and methamphetamine usage. Officer Watts noticed a bag containing red pills wrapped in tin foil lying in plain sight. It should be emphasized that Scott was in the driver's seat, while Frost was in the right front passenger seat. Officer Watts and I detained both Scott and Frost based on information provided by the clerk and observations of the pills, believing that the pills were being used for purposes other than those intended. Officer Watts patted Frost down and discovered a used needle laced with heroin residue, 2 cigarette packs, and a phone charger. I searched Scott for weaponry. Scott was unsure what was in his pockets and agreed to let me collect it. He had a cell phone and 2 lighters in his pockets. When I went to get the pills from the glove box, Officer Watts informed me that there was a black box with heroin on the passenger side. Officer Watts was informed about the black box and its contents by Frost. Following a search of the vehicle, a black box was discovered on the right front passenger floorboard, where Frost was sitting. For needles, a pocket knife, K-tips, a bent spoon with brown residue, a piece of brown substance suspected to be heroin, and a piece of cotton as a filter were found inside the box. Officer Watts tested the drugs discovered in the glove compartment by dispatch. The tablets were ibuprofen by prescription only or could be purchased over the counter, according to dispatch. I discovered another spoon with brown residue, a piece of brown substance suspected to be heroin, and a piece of cotton as a filter inside the left front driver's side door pocket, where Scott was sitting. I interviewed Scott after uncovering the second spoon. Scott confirmed ownership of the vehicle and that he drove it on a regular basis. When I asked him about the spoon containing possible heroin, he denied knowing anything about it. When I questioned Scott and Frost if there was any heroin in the car, Scott said, yes. 2 hours 2 minutes and 53 seconds, Scott said, I don't know, but I'm sure there's some somewhere. Frost then stated that there should be heroin in the cigarette pack that Officer Watts extracted from his pocket during the search of his person. 3 pieces of heroin in a small clear plastic bag were found inside the cigarette box. Scott and Frost both stated that the only heroin they had was on spoons and in the cigarette box. Scott was arrested for possession of controlled substance penalty group 1 gram because he was in care, custody, and control of the vehicle and was sitting next to where the spoon of heroin was discovered in the driver's side door. Because Frost was sitting in the right front passenger seat, where the black box containing the spoon with heroin was discovered, as well as having the syringe and heroin pieces in the cigarette box on his person, I arrested Frost for possession of controlled substance penalty group 1 gram. Using patrol camera number 2, I photographed the proof. Officer Watts assisted me in gathering the evidence and later in submitting it to the police department. The next in line wrecker, Central Wrecker, was called to the scene to tow Scott's vehicle. Officer Watts finished a vehicle inventory, which is included in this report. Before going to the Macomb County Jail, I checked Scott's phone to see whether he had any texts about his arrest. Looking through Scott's phone, I noticed that he had received a text message from a woman named Stephanie asking him to bring her $40 worth of dope. After reading the first text, Scott's phone died, and I was unable to further examine it or photograph the text message. On the way to the jail with Scott and Frost, I asked Officer Watts to try to get a witness statement from Baxter. Scott and Frost were both booked into the Macomb County Jail for possession of a controlled substance, Group 1. I requested that the 2 spoons with the brown residue thought to be heroin, the 3 pieces of heroin found in the cigarette box, and the used needle found on Frost's person be placed into evidence and sent to DPS for analysis. Both Officer Watts's and my patrol car's digital video were submitted as evidence. Later that day, on August 15, 2015, Baxter delivered a witness statement that is attached to this report. According to Baxter, he saw a male, Scott, wearing a blue shirt and baggy pants reach behind the counter and remove a Timewies Bic lighter. According to Baxter, the subject told him he had to use the restroom before he could pay for it. After 10 minutes, Baxter entered the restroom and discovered a syringe on the floor. According to Baxter, a shorter, Caucasian male with short hair, Frost, came into the store to check on Scott and purchased some chips. When Scott emerged from the toilet, he placed the lighter on the counter and stated that he needed to fetch his wallet. When Baxter took the lighter, he noticed it was warm to the touch. Baxter reported that he saw both individuals get into a blue automobile and drive south on Main. Although no citations for drug paraphernalia were issued, this report will be filed directly with Macomb Municipal Court for possession of drug paraphernalia offenses. Conclusion: for possession of controlled substance penalty group 1 offenses, this report will be forwarded to the district attorney. This report will also be sent to Macomb.
Officer S. Watts, number 3120, later made a supplement contribution to Officer Waters' report. Supplemental date, August 16, 2015 at 6:30 p.m. Synopsis: Officer Watts assisted Officer Waters with a possession of controlled substance, PCS, arrest. I located a heroin syringe and heroin on one of the suspect's person. According to Officer Watts,
on September 12, 2015, at approximately 1:51 a.m., Officer Watts helped Officer Waters with a traffic stop at 2105 Main, West Courts in Macomb, Macomb County, Texas. Prior to the traffic stop, Officer Waters was called to 2345 Main, Axios gas station, for suspicious activity in the bathroom. An employee at Axios stated that when he entered the bathroom, he saw two males possibly injecting heroin. The employee stated that he saw a syringe on the floor next to the two males. Officer Waters was provided a description of the car in which the two individuals exited the petrol station. A four-door passenger automobile in blue was described in the description. Officer Waters detected a traffic violation as the vehicle was leaving. I came and approached the passenger side of the vehicle after Officer Waters had the vehicle stopped. I noticed the vehicle was occupied twice while standing at the passenger side door. Scott, Ernie, W/MDOB, July 30, 1993, driver, and Frost, Michael Frost, W/MDOB, 05/20/1991, passenger, were later identified as the driver and passenger, respectively. When Frost opened the passenger side glove compartment to get the vehicle's insurance information, I noticed a clear Ziploc baggie containing several, 10 to 15, brown circular pills. I also noticed a small piece of tinfoil, which I assumed was for heroin use. Tinfoil is used to heat heroin before consumption, according to my training and expertise as a police officer. When Frost realized I had seen the bag, he quickly tried to close the glove box and pretend it didn't exist. Based on the call and Frost's suspicious behavior after seeing the Ziploc bag, I suspected the bag contained a prescription medication or other medication that could be dangerous. I then opened the door and told Frost to get out of the car. When Frost got out of the car, he was told to turn around and put his hands behind his back. Frost was informed that he was being detained for the time being and was not being arrested. Frost became very aggressive and confrontational when he learned he was being arrested. At one point, I considered using force to put Frost in handcuffs. Frost was finally handcuffed after putting his hands behind his back, double-locked. After being taken in handcuffs, Frost insisted that it was all Scott's fault. If there was anything in the truck, it belonged to Scott, according to Frost. A probable cause search was conducted on the vehicle and Frost's person due to the presence of multiple unidentified tablets in a Ziploc baggie inside the vehicle. A syringe was discovered in Frost's right cargo pocket during the search for his person. During the search for Frost, about 2 grams of a brown rock, possibly heroin, was discovered in a cigarette pack in his left cargo pocket. Following the discovery of the syringe, Frost advised that heroin was indeed present inside the vehicle. The heroin was discovered in a black box in the front passenger seat, according to Frost. Officer Waters then completed the vehicle search. Several other drugs and paraphernalia were discovered inside the vehicle. See the report of Officer Waters. I'm introducing arbitrator footage from Unit 44 as evidence. Conclusion: I propose that this report be filed with Officer Waters' original report.
My client, Michael Joseph Frost, was indicted in the district court for intentionally or knowingly possessing a controlled substance, to wit, heroin, in the amount of less than 1 gram, a violation of Texas Health and Safety Code Section 481.115 paragraph B. After review of the discovery materials and consultation, my client Michael Joseph Frost accepted a plea bargain as follows. In exchange for his guilty plea, defendant was placed on deferred adjudication with a 2-year term of probation and a $100 fine and court costs. A few years after, Michael Joseph Frost violated the terms of his probation and found guilty of the original offense and sentenced to 6 months in the Texas State Jail prison.